All right, thank you for joining us today. This is Field Point Podcast, and this time we are going to be looking at a topic: teachers, selfless, caring, and role model. Now, of course, you're hearing that, perhaps on one of our podcast platforms, but I want you to know what brought about this question. We just finished a live program on YouTube and Facebook where we talked about teachers in the marketplace, and in that we actually talked to Pastor Dolapo, who gave us a really nice teaching. I will say I would consider it to be a teaching really. The topic and the message actually flows along. So to me, I think it's really teaching. But I want you to go back and listen to that if you didn't listen to that before you get this podcast, because that will give you a broader, more kind of idea of how we get to this point. But on this side, it's meant to be short, and so in a couple of minutes, you will get to listen to Pastor Dolapo speaking about what we have on the podcast on this side. So let me bring him up, and then we will proceed on this part of the program. Pastor Lawa, thank you so much, sir, for doing this podcast for us today as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, sir, for having me.
Yes, sir. So on the YouTube where we talked about the teachers in the marketplace, you mentioned some key and very important things that I hope that our listeners will go and listen to the YouTube platform as well, and that they will follow. And in the event they have questions, they can as well ask, and then we will be glad to follow up with you and get back to them with the questions. But on this side, we're going to be looking at these teachers: selfless, caring, and role model. What do you see when you hear these points right here, or these qualifiers right here? What do you see? What do you think? What do you hear? How do you perceive these? Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. I'll try as much as possible to be quick, but I'd really like to talk from scriptures. Jeremiah 23, verse 4. It says something. I think this is very fascinating. It says, I will set up shepherds over them, which will feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they lack, saith the Lord. Now, I checked the Hebrew word for shepherds, and I checked the Hebrew word for feed. They're actually the same thing, ra. So, if we want to read, with that translation, I will set up shepherds over them, which will shepherd them. Feeding them is shepherding them. Shepherding them is feeding them. So what the Bible is saying, in other words, is that God gives people. If we read Ephesians chapter 4, it says the same that ascended, the same that descended, and gave gifts to men. He gave some apostles. So ministry gifts are gifts of God. Now, God gives teachers to people as a gift. So a teacher, by wiring, by functionality, God wired a teacher to be spent. God gave a teacher as a gift. You are not for yourself. A teacher gives the word and gives himself. That's what we're reading in Jeremiah 23. God gave the teacher, the people feed, you feed them, and they feed on you as well. And that's why you notice the character that Jesus uses to show leadership. He uses shepherd. Shepherd doesn't eat grass. It's goats that eat grass. It's sheep and goats and all those animals that eat grass. But shepherd, they wire their life to looking for pastures that they will not eat, but for the people that they lead to eat. That's the life of the shepherd. It is selfless. It is caring, and it is wrong, and it's a role model. And I want to say something about that role model there. Some years ago, I learned this the hard way. The Lord made me understand that there is a difference between a fan and a disciple. A fan is somebody that likes your ministry, enjoys how you talk, loves how you do your things. You are very humble, very quiet. That's a fan. A disciple is someone that is learning how to live from you. And that's the difference between the disciples of Jesus and the multitude. The multitude came for miracles. The multitude came to hear what Jesus had to say. The disciples were learning how to live from Jesus. So when Jesus was not teaching, they were with Jesus still learning. It was disciples that saw that he quieted the storm, and they got a message from that. What manner of man is this? He didn't have to teach them. I'm a different kind of man, but his way of living passed the message. So they were learning how to live from Jesus. And I think that is what it means to be a role model. To be a role model is to take on a responsibility to understand that you are supposed to be how people ought to be. God is trying to make a statement in the lives of people. God is trying to pass a message across to people. God uses you as an example. For example, 2 plus 2 equals to 4. A teacher wants to teach you addition. The teacher will say 2 plus 2 equals to 4. For example, 2 plus 2 equals to 4. For example, 4 plus 4 equals to 8. Then the teacher will now say 4 plus 2 equals to dash. The teacher is expecting that you use the examples to decode the question. The teacher in this context is the examples. So God gives us teachers as examples so that we can solve life problems. And that's what it means to be a role model. To be a role model is to be in a role and to model that role the right way that God will have it be. So a teacher, in essence, is how you ought to be. How you ought to be. When you look at that person, you look at your life, how you see how you ought to be. Now, there is also a dichotomy there, because there is a difference between having a role model or having a mentor, having a coach, having a teacher, and having an idol. There are two different things. The difference between honor and hero worship is a very thin line. And maybe because we're Africans, our culture sometimes we can go overboard. So there is a difference between hero worship and just honoring a role model. The Bible doesn't tell you to just follow somebody. Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. You cannot follow any man well if you have not understood how Christ leads. Until you understand for yourself the confines of the character of Jesus Christ. If a man is following you, if a man is leading you, you will not know when he's leading you astray. And I beg to say this as an example. Leadership is not something that we can play with. The children of Israel that lost their life in the Red Sea, the children of Egypt, the Egyptian soldiers that lost their life in the Red Sea was because of leadership. Simple. They did not decide to chase the children of Israel. Their leader, Pharaoh, decided, and that cost them their life. If you are following the wrong person, you can die. You can be destroyed. If somebody is making you think white is black, hey, anybody that is controlling your ears is controlling your eternal destination. Anybody that is controlling your ears is controlling your eternal destination. You are what you hear. You would think how you are hearing. And so when it comes to, teaching, having a role model is not something to take lightly. It's something to be careful about, to pray about, and to receive clear instructions from God. I hope I've been able to help with that, sir.
That was more than I've been able to. That was real deal. And where you ended it very well, because we can sit here and we can have another whole episode, okay? But I'll try not to. When you said anybody that controls your ear controls your eternal destiny, it's all right. That's not going to be conversation today, because when you're looking at that, right? When I was hearing that part, I was hearing the music we listen to, the song, the sound.
Yes, sir.
How some lyrics you can't even read it. They are such unholy. And if you get to know, when you hear the sound and you haven't heard the lyrics, you might be tempted to think, oh wow, that's a really good sign. But when you hear the lyrics, you know that this is complete from the kingdom of the darkness. So that's why I don't really want to go there, because I have the temptation to speak when we because people are listening to things and they think, oh, we just enjoy life. But something
Yeah.
is control your life, and it's going to ultimately be the one to usher you to hell. But
Yes,
anyway, thank you so much, sir. This is really superb. I like it. Thank you so much, sir,
thank you
for
so much, sir.
being for us today.
Thank
All
you.
right, let's stay with me in the studio, and I will be right back. And again, to everyone, you have listened to us today, and I'm sure that by now you know that this is Viewpoint Ministries podcast. And again, feel free to send us email if you have questions, info@viewpointministriesinternational.org, and you can send us an email as well, www.viewpointministriesinternational.org. And again, if you have questions, let us know. Concerns, let us know. If you want to partner with us, hey, glory be to God. But don't forget that we are a non-profit 501c3 organization, and our mission is to provide needed and necessary support and assistance to the community for the prospect of peaceable living and overcome challenges through the provision of instructions and information on practical Christian living within and outside the United States of America. Practical Christian living. Okay, that is what we assist for here. So again, this is where we're going to be heading in today, and I remain yours, Solomon Oluwabiye. Until the next time, have a wonderful